Hello, ma'am, and hello, everyone. Thank you for the occasion that given to us. In this occasion, we are going to explain about teaching reading. But before that, let us introduce ourselves. Start from me. My name is Nila Srinita Puspayani. My student number 18120211094, and my partner Made Budi Kurniawan with student number 18120211074. And for the next material is about definition of reading. As we know, reading is one of important skill besides listening, speaking, and writing in the process of mastering English. So, according to Klein et al. 2006, stated that reading is a process that requires the reader to translate the symbol of the text or writing system to get the information in the form of written text. And according to Gilakjani and Soburi 2016 also stated that reading is an interactive process which has a purpose that someone can understand and get the information through the words and letters. So from those definitions, we can conclude that reading is a process of someone to absorb the whole meaning, information, or knowledge in the form of written text by translating the words into a speech. And the next is about the types of reading. According to Harmer 2007, as cited in Ratminingsih 2017, there are two types of reading. The first one is intensive reading. These types of reading is more serious and specific to get and find out the information from the reading text and needs teacher guidance. These types of reading needs students' efforts because the students must be able to understand and find out the information in a specific way. These types of reading usually take place inside of the class. Or we can say that these types of reading is used to find the information based on the student purpose that the students studying for, or based on the students' needs and interests. While the extensive reading is the opposite of intensive reading, where these types of reading is reading for pleasure and don't really need teacher guidance because it is just for fun. And these types of reading usually take place outside of the class, and the text of extensive reading is adjusted to the student's interests. And the extensive reading usually used to read novel, comic, short story, and etc. Okay, the next material is about three phases of reading. According to Toprak and Almakioglu 2009, the first phase is pre-reading. In this phase, the students do warm-up activity includes brainstorming before they start to read. It means that the teacher gives the students introduction or background knowledge about the text that they read. The teacher must be able to engage the students and help them to understand more better in a good direction and meaningful way. And the next phase is while reading. This phase of reading also can be said as during reading activity. In this phase, the students have started to engage with the text that they read. They practice, they determine the information that they delivered in the text. This phase of reading has a purpose to increase students' receptive skill and critical thinking, because in this phase the students focus on understanding the context of the text. And the last phase is post-reading. This phase of reading also can be said as after reading activity. In this phase, the teacher makes sure students understanding about what they already learned, about what they already read from their reading activity. And the next is benefit of teaching reading. According to Scott and Simon 2016, there are several benefits of teaching reading. The first one is reading can lead the students to get academic achievement. Reading provides a lot of information and knowledge that needed. The more students read, it will make the students can increase their insight. So because of that, it will improve their academic skill, and because of that, it will lead the students to get their academic achievement. And the next benefit is reading can increase students' vocabulary, spelling, and grammar. In reading activity, the students will find new vocabulary that they didn't know before. In that situation, they will look in the dictionary to understand the context and to understand the vocabulary that they didn't know. In that situation, it will make the students have a good understanding in vocabulary. And beside that, in a reading text or reading activity, it also supported by a correct grammar and spelling. So from those, the student can learn and then can increase their mastery in the spelling and grammar. And the next benefit is reading can help students to improve their writing skill. Besides, the students have seen about the spelling, grammar, vocabulary in their reading activity. They also can see various writing style because they already seen about the various writing style, they can apply to their writing, because as we know that in the writing, a good mastery in spelling, vocabulary, grammar, and writing style is really needed, and because of that, it will affect students' writing skill. And the last benefit is reading can make the students have a critical thinking. In reading activity, trains student brains to analyze and understand the information that delivered in the text, because as we know, in reading there are a lot of information that delivered by the other. It can be stated or implied. In that situation, it will be make the students be skeptical to analyze and understanding all of the information that delivered in the text by the others. And the next material is about the obstacle of teaching reading. According to Gundogmus 2018, there are several obstacles that might be faced by the students and teacher in the process of learning and teaching reading. The first one is students' obstacle, such as unreadiness of the students. This can happen because some of the students cannot adapt to the learning environment at school mentally and physically. So it will cause the students to have less motivation in their learning process, and then it will make the students cannot improve their reading skill, because as we know, in a reading activity, it needs to students' interest, motivation, concentration, and focus. And the next obstacle is lack of interest of students. This can happen because as we know, in the reading activity, it takes a lot of time and need highly concentration and focus of the students. So in that situation, it will make the students quickly get bored in their reading. So because of that, we can say that it will cause the students to have lack interest of the reading. And the second one is teacher obstacle, such as lack of professional experience. As we know, in the class there are different level of the students. The students are different each other. They have their own learning style, and in that situation, if the teacher does not have a good teaching skill, it will make the learning and teaching reading will be difficult and less effective for the students. So because of that, we can say that teaching experience and professional experience really needed in the process of improving students' ability in reading. And the second one is classes are too crowded and the learning tools are not sufficient. The quantity of the students in the class can affect the effectiveness of teaching reading. The more students in the class, it will make the learning process less effective, because the teacher cannot control the situation and condition in the class, and the material that presented by the teacher also become less effective. As we know, A successful learning process is supported by sufficient learning tools. In this case, teaching reading can be said as one of a successful learning process if it is supported by sufficient learning tools such as dictionary, books, various reading texts, and etc. If all of those cannot be fulfilled in a good way, it will be make the learning process hampered for the students. And to avoid the teaching reading from those obstacles, the teacher must know the principle of teaching reading. And according to Harmer 2007, as cited in Ratmanisi 2017, there are several principles of teaching reading. The first one, encourage students to read more. The teacher must be able to encourage students in every learning process, in every reading activity, and make them interest. The more students read, the more students practice, it will be better for the students and then can affect their reading abilities. And the second one is students must be engaged in the text they learn. To make the students have a good reading skill, the teacher cannot force the students to read something that they didn't like. The teacher must be able to provide an interesting reading text to catch their attention in reading, and that increase their interest in reading. So because of that, they can improve their reading abilities. And the third principle is encourage students to respond to the content of the text. The teacher must be able to lead the students to explore their reading. In this principle, the students do not just read the text or pay attention to the grammar, but they also must be able to understand, express their opinion, or respond the context of the text. And the last, they also must be able to explain their understanding from their reading text. The next principle is engage students to predict the information. The teacher must be able to direct and engage the students to predict the content of the text, because as we know, prediction can be said as the main point of reading activity to get the information. The students also can predict the information through the cover, title, or picture of the books or various reading texts. For example, if the students have an English book with the title Basic English Grammar, in that situation, they can predict the content of the books is about the English itself, about the grammar, about the expression, about the model, and etc. And the next principle is match the task with the topic. The teacher must be able to choose the appropriate material that based on the curriculum and with the task. It is to make the learning process, the teaching reading, effective for the students, and then can improve students' skill in reading. And the task that has been given by the teacher must be adjusted to the students' activity, must be adjusted to the purpose or learning objective of teaching reading. And the last principle is exploit the text to its full potential. It means that the teacher must be able to use the text maximally in every learning process, in every reading activity. It is to make the teaching reading effective for the students and successful in improving students' ability in reading. And all of those principles can be used by the teacher to teach reading for adult learner and young learner. And that's all about my presentation, and for the rest material will be presented by my friend. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Madi Budi Kurniawan. Today I would like to continue Nita Puspayani presentation, and I will explain about the implementation of teaching reading and how it produces. Okay, we have several methods that can be implemented by the teacher, such as jigsaw technique, ASCII3R, and also word splash. Let me explain the first method, jigsaw technique. Jigsaw technique is a method that prioritizes about the teamwork, which in jigsaw technique, the students have their own duties to make the group work become well. There are 5 main components of jigsaw technique that the teacher have to do in class, such as reading, expert group discussion, team reports, testing, and team recognition. In implementing jigsaw technique in reading class, the teachers can following these steps. The first is the teachers have to divide the students into several groups, which in one group there are maybe 5 until 6 students. And also the teachers have to divide the material into several segments based on the group members. And then the teachers give the text to the students and let them to read their segment at least twice to make sure that the students understand about the segment. When the student finish reading the text, the teacher can ask the students to discuss what they know about the text in another group with the same segment. And after the discussion, the students go back to their original group and discuss based on the information that they got in the segment group. And after that, the students summarize the information of whole segment and present it in front of the class. This method also have some strengths and weaknesses. The strengths of jigsaw technique, the first is the students will be learn more independently, which means that in the learning process, the student become active in find, share, and also summarize the information that they got. And the second one, the material will be easily to be achieved by the student because the material divided into several segments, and it makes the student become easier to get the point of every segment. And the third, the students become more active in sharing opinion and also expressing opinion within the group because this method are focused on student center. But there are also some weaknesses of this method. The first is the students who are more active will be dominate the discussion in a group, which means that the students who are active will be act like leaders in a group. And the second one, the students who have low ability in thinking and also reading will have difficulty to explaining and discussing the material given to them. The second method is ASQ3R, which is a strategy to improve student reading skill, and it can help students to gain information from the text easily and make the students become active in reading. In ASQ3R, the students have to do 5 steps, for instance, survey, question, read, recall, and review. The first step is survey, which in survey steps, the student can get understanding about the whole text, which means that the students should have general understanding of the content of the text. And the second step is question, which in question step, the student have to arrange the question based on the text surveyed before. And the third step is reading, which is in reading steps, the students have to read the text based on the question. The fourth step is recall, which in this step, the teacher asks the students to restate the answer of the question by their own word. And the fifth steps is review, which in these steps, the student should observe the question and the answer. And this session, the students should make a summary about the text given. Same with previous method, ASQ3R, SQ3R also have several strengths and weaknesses. The first strength is the students become more active and trained to be able to make question. And the second one, in SQ3R, also the student can work in group to exchange opinion in understanding the concept of the material. And the third strength is the material given by the teachers are directly leads to the essence of the text. And also, there are the weaknesses of this method. The first is difficult to find the main idea of the text. And the second one is require a lot of time to master one material, because to mastering the material, the students have to do 5 steps which are difficult. And the third weaknesses is difficult to be implemented if there are a lot of students in one class, because if there are a lot of students, the teachers will be difficult to monitoring and let the students to do 5 steps. The third method is word splash, which method to make the students to predict the text that they will read. Or in another word, this method make the students predict the text that given by the teachers. And it also can help students to active their prior knowledge to make the student more active in the listen and awaken their interest in learning. In implementing word splash in reading class, the teachers can following these steps. The first is the teachers have to choose the several keywords of the text and write the keyword in the blackboard or make copies of them. And then the teachers ask the students to work in pair and make a prediction about how the words are connected. And then the teachers give the students the correct text and ask them to compare their prediction with the correct text. And the last steps, the students also mention the incorrect information from their prediction and change it into the correct information. And then the students have to present it in front of the class. Word splash also have some strengths and some weaknesses. The first strength is the students able to encourage their ability to predict the keyword, and also it can make the students more focused in one problem in every keyword. And beside that, it can help students to being social when the students exchange their opinions that they got in the work in pairs. But there are also the weaknesses of word splash. The first is the students are difficult to make a correct sentence with the correct grammatical. And this method can be applied if the story is unfamiliar, because the student have no idea about to predict the text if the story is unfamiliar. This is the result about jigsaw technique in teaching reading in class. The title of the article is The Implementation and Obstacles in Jigsaw Technique in Teaching Reading, and the author is Murniati, and the journal is English Education Journal. This is the second result about SQ3R result, with the title is SQ3R Implementation in Teaching Reading Comprehension, a case study of 8th grade students at one state MTS in Sumedang. The author is Mila Siti Masuroh, and the journal is Journal of English and Education. This is the video of implementation jigsaw technique in reading class.
title of the reading is Go, Turtle, Go.
Go.
What do you think this story is about?
About rabbit.
Okay, about a rabbit and a turtle? Ah, you have been reading some other stories. Yeah, good idea. What else? Okay, I'm going to give you another clue. I have a picture for you to look at, so you're going to have to share with some people, okay? Share the pictures. And now, what do you think? What is Go, Turtle, Go? A competition, okay? Good. Yes? Do you know another word for that when you see who can run the fastest? Okay, this is going to be an important vocabulary word for today. The word is race. Yeah. Say with me, race.
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 Well, race has more than one meaning. This meaning of race is a competition to see who can run the fastest. So this is a story about a turtle race. All right, for this reading, we're going to get into some groups. So I'm going to give you a number. Okay. 1, 2, that's me, 3. 1, 3. Perfect. Okay. I would like the 1s to come and sit over here, the 2s back there, and the 3s somewhere over here. All right. In your group, each person needs one section of the story. So each group has a different part. This group has section 1, the beginning of the story. This group has section 2, the middle of the story. And this group has section 3, the end of the story. So together, you're going to read your section. Read it. Make sure you understand the main idea. You do not need to understand everything in your section, okay? But you need to understand the main idea. If there are words you don't know that you need to know for the main idea, talk to Laura Dale or I. Then you're going to find your section on this paper, okay? So section 1 group, you need to answer the questions under section 1. What are the numbers for questions under section 1? 3. There are 3 questions for section 1. This group, do you need to answer section 1 questions? No. Only this group needs to answer the section 1 questions. Section 2, how many questions do you have? You also have 3, numbers 4, 5, and 6. And then back of the paper, section 3, how many questions do you have?
4 questions.
4 questions. Are you ready to start? Remember, you don't need to understand everything in the story. You just need to look for the information to answer your questions. Okay, so this group, I see that some of you are working very quickly and some people haven't started, so work together as a group, okay? Your job is to make sure that everybody in your group has the correct answers. All right, you have about 1 more minute to finish your question. Okay, stop for a minute. If you're not finished, that's okay. All right, take a look up here. So now we're going to get into different groups. And in your groups, you're going to share your information that you learned. Okay, so talk about section 1. The people in this group who have section 1 answers, you're going to tell the other groups about your answers. Are you going to show them your paper? Say, here, you can copy my paper. No. Okay? You need to hold your paper and explain the answers to the questions. So you need to tell them the question and explain why. So bring your piece of the story so you can show them where you found the answer in the text. Okay? And then section 2 people, you will explain your answers to the group. And section 3 people, you will explain your answers. And then everybody will have the correct answers on their paper. Okay? So let's have, everybody has a circle, colored circle? Okay, so let's have purple here, green here, yellow here, and red here. No, you don't need to read that. Just talk about the answers. Both. So read the question together and then you tell them the answers. So do you understand what you just said? Yeah, again. All right, my friends, we are out of time.